All right, welcome everyone to another edition of Deconversion Stories. And today we have this fine gentleman right here, Mr. Drew Bekius, that I had the absolute pleasure of meeting in person at the last B.A.H.A.Con that was over there in Ontario there. And I got to tell you something right now. I kind of wish I was still over there because it's fucking, they call it an atmospheric river. Is what they call it. It's passing over us right now. I'm like, you call this a river? Rivers usually go past you. This is an atmospheric fucking waterfall that apparently is flooding the air. I've seen some horror pictures and video takes from around here of all the streets being flooded and cars fucking crapping out and stuff like that in the middle of these giant puddles. And it's just, it's horrible right now.
Global warming is a hoax, Neil. I can't believe you still believe that shit.
Well, I guess I've just been convinced by the evidence that's out front of my house right now.
Not the river. Don't let that river lie to you, Neil.
Well, that's what they're calling it. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, it's supposed to clear up a little bit more tomorrow, which is great because I always take my mom out every Sunday, as you know. So go for brunch or brekkie or whatever the hell. And tomorrow is my fucking birthday. So yeah. Gonna be the big whopping 58 years old. 2 years from now, I'll be 60. I can't believe that shit. Like I remember being like 20 odd years old and thinking to myself, man, I hope I make it to 60. And yeah, I'm like 2 years from that now. So, but I just want to say before we get into everything, welcome to the show, Drew. Man, we've been planning this for a while.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Neil, and happy birthday to you. I think last time we spoke, or at some point, you had asked me to sing happy birthday to you in Marilyn Manson.
The stylings of Marilyn Monroe.
Right. Although Marilyn Manson might be.
I thought it was Manson. I heard Manson. I want Manson.
But yes, thank you, Mikey. Great to make your acquaintance. Good to meet you. And yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Cheers.
Awesome. Yeah, cheers. I can't drink, so I've got water, but
This is just great or apple juice.
Oh, okay. Looks like
whatever we want to call it.
Be scotch or something. Just tell everyone it's scotch. But yeah, you're a little bit under the weather, so I'm not going to make you sing, man. It's okay. I get it.
I'm drinking lemonade, which I call the blood of my enemies in public.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for the happy birthday wishes. Happy birthday, geezer, says Krish.
I wonder who they're talking about.
I love you too, buddy. You're number one in my books. All right. So
2 is huge. 60 minus 2 is huge. You're like right there. The big 5-8, as everyone likes to call it. I mean,
do you get any special Canadian discounts?
For what? No, not yet. Not until
I'm asking. You're Canadian. Y'all do stuff differently.
Yeah, that's true. We kind of do sometimes, for sure.
Maybe you got a 60 or.
I'll show off this T-shirt that my roommate got me that I have. I'm wearing. I'm going to wear it tomorrow, but it's Hitch Slap.
Oh yeah, a classic.
Fucking awesome, right?
Total classic.
Nice.
Yes, youngster. D called me a youngster. Well, thank you, ma'am. Anyways, Drew, what we do here on the show is we chat with folks about how they found their way free from their previous belief systems.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I know because we've spoke before because I've met you in person and shit, that you were an ex-pastor. And I'm going to say this before you get into it. I'm going to say this.
Mm-hmm.
When you were up doing your performance, your performance, well, technically it was your talk, your spiel at the B.A.H.A.Con.
Yeah.
I leaned over to Aaron and I said, yep, you could tell he was a pastor just because of the way your mannerisms and the way you handled yourself up there on the stage. So first of all, tell us what, shall we say, what flavor of Christianity did you come out of?
Yes. Great question to start off. I mean, I guess just from a background standpoint.
Usually he asks that one, but I thought I'd beat him to it.
That's my question. Birthday boy, go for it.
Oh, now what will you ask, Mikey? We're going to force you to think of some other questions.
Never. I'll never think.
So from various flavors of evangelical, I suppose. Evangelical Christianity would be the best way to say it. Like a lot of folks, there's some progression along the way. So started off my deepest growing up, the members of my family who had the greatest influences on my faith were more fundamentalist, right? Even further right than evangelical would be. But then just going to seminary itself kind of loosened me up a little bit. And by the time I was pastoring my second church, still very much evangelical, but about as leftward as you can go within evangelicalism. So if you're familiar with terms by chance, like the emerging church or the emergent church,
I've heard the expression.
Yeah.
There was something in the late 90s that was, in the 2000s, around the time of Barack Obama's first run for office, where they called it the evangelical left. All right, so that was more where I was through my entire second church and through kind of the second half of the first one. If we define how I would define evangelical, so progressive evangelicalism. But evangelicalism, oftentimes we think of like progressive evangelicalism, sounds like a bit of an oxymoron, right?
Yeah.
And it definitely today, I don't know that things like the evangelical left, I don't even know that exists anymore. But
as it used to be, probably not.
Exactly. I don't even know that it's there. But if we think of evangelicalism as like whatever the hell the Bible's trying to tell us, it is the inspired, inerrant, authoritative word of God. As long as we believe that whatever it is from him and is true 100%, as long as you believe that,
you can kind of look at, does he live in your attic? Because you were looking up. So
yeah. What's that?
I'm just curious. Does he live in your attic? Because you were looking up.
He might still be up there.
He's stalking you, man.
Times are hard, Neil.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to live with your old believers. Fucking this economy, Neil. He's got to have somewhere to stay. It's rent. It's rent fucking Jesus up.
No.
Bring me the iron chariots because the rent is too damn high.
I thought he could just snap his fingers and like manna and shit would fall from the sky or some shit.
I mean, that's what I do. That was the kind of Jesus I snapped my fingers and shit happened. That's
because if it's not that, then what's the fucking point, dude? Why be a god?
Right? Magic,
man. Every time I snapped my fingers, my church office laptop automatically was filled with porn. It was amazing.
Came pre-installed.
Every time I snap my fingers, I hurt something. So I'm not doing that.
Welcome to 58.
Yes. Yeah.
Please enjoy your.
Anyway, carry on. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're good. Oh, so I mean, if that's evangelicalism, I mean, so I taught that the Bible was the inspired, inerrant, authoritative word of God, and yet everything within the Bible, we interpreted it through about as leftward of a lens as possible. We were socialists, et cetera, and that's how I taught the Bible through that lens. It is government's responsibility to make sure all assets are equally distributed amongst people, et cetera. So we were LGBTQ plus friendly, affirming, et cetera. Even back then. It's just
love the sin or love the sinner, hate the sin.
Not so much love the sinner, hate the sin. But what I was doing was exploring interpretations of the scriptures, the Christian New Testament and the Hebrew Bible, Christian Old Testament, that did not go the normative way of condemning anybody who is, not the gender that they appeared to be at birth, assigned at birth, anyone that wasn't straight,
heteronormative or whatever they fucking
right.
call it.
We pushed against that. So any het straight, hetero straight, het straight, or cis het is more what I was going for.
There you go.
But so we had friends, who, trans folk, everything were a part of our church. And so, and we embraced that. So, and that was part of, I guess I wrestled with that. When I looked at the scriptures, I saw lots of gray, and I didn't necessarily say I'm super confident that none of this is sin, but I definitely I didn't feel it was my role to declare sin. Like,
Right.
Well, apparently we're all born somewhat broken. Doesn't matter how. And we definitely pointed towards scientific studies showing that however we're born, whatever our orientation is, whatever our gender is, we looked at differences between brain sex and gonadal sex and the 5 different layers of sexual. We looked at all these different things and we said, okay, so clearly this is more complex than what people, when they wrote the Bible, understood. And we're not sure that it has to be understood this way. Yeah,
I'm going to have to say pretty much almost everything was more complex than when they wrote the Bible.
well, yeah, exactly. Exactly. But so we were open about that. So like one thing I actively taught as a believing pastor, I 100% believe the Bible was the inspired and inerrant word of God, and authoritatively so. And yet at the same time, actively did everything I could to try and break down and eliminate black and white thinking, that everything has to be either or, and say,
Right.
let's embrace the gray. This world, our humanity, our experience, the way that God has built this shit is filled with gray and nuance. And we don't have to know everything about everything. It's okay that we don't. We just try and live the healthiest version of humanity that we can along the way. So, I don't know. That's kind of
Well, that's an interesting way of looking at it, rather than, well, I'll just use God to putty up all these gaps I have and all these arguments I have, instead of like, let the question be there. Like, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
That's much more honest than Numbers 47 verse 345 says you must wash the pastor's car every 3rd Saturday. Like,
well, that's not a bad idea.
here's the thing. If you had to force people to wash your car, would you let them do it? Are they going to do a fucking good job if I have to make them?
Would I let them? That's an interesting question. Yes.
Like, if I have to ask someone to take a good, like, that's my car. Like, they could really do some damage. So maybe I want to
have a key underneath that rag there.
Oh no, I dropped the chamois on the ground and there was rocks in the chamois, and I just cleaned your car. Like,
that's why you pay them, all the neighborhood kids, to get them together, and you pay them to wash your car.
Yes.
And even then, they still do a shitty job.
I was about to say, pay them not to touch your car. Here's ice cream. Please take your water balloon fight 1 block over. They would love you.
March yourself promptly onward. Yes.
Have you tried the school park? I hear all the kids love it there. Just half a mile away in the heat. Go that way, please.
All right, from here on out, Purple's not allowed to wash my car. Purple wants to use steel wool to get all the grime off.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
Oh, I see the comments. Yes.
All the sack of shit. Yeah, that was from a comment on Twitter earlier today. And
sex or sex?
No.
Are we having sex?
I commented on somebody who made a post about a sack of shit. You know, there was a whole thing there. And tons of mice kind of said something about that. Hang on. Oh yeah, I found the evil.
I have a question.
Seems so nice. I wonder if sacks of shit will appear in Neil's chat. And I say, don't they always? And sure enough, here we go. Sacks of shit. It showed up in my chat.
Literally, sacks of shit is here. How large was your congregation?
So I was brought in. I was there for 4 years. I was brought in to rebuild, essentially restart an entire new church, if you will. Although we weren't so keen on we used the word church. We weren't scared of the word church, but much preferred the term faith community. Okay. And so, so I spent the first year or so working with the 30 people who were left to try and just work through traumas that they had faced before. So we were not trying to grow. We're not trying to do any of that. What you think of as church is let's just grow and amass all the millions we can. That wasn't our goal. Our goal was let's take time to work through traumas, to work through difficulties that people have seen, because it was really, really a at least minimally fucked up situation prior to that. Over the course of about a year and a half, they were about 350 people. And a year and a half later, they were 30 people. And one of the interim minister, like the minister in between the two senior pastors while they were looking for a new one. He fired the youth pastor from the pulpit on Sunday morning. And
oh boy,
it was,
Wait.
Lord,
While
hot
everyone was
ass
there?
mess.
what's that? Yeah, while
He did that
everyone was
while-
there, like during
Oh,
the sermon. And you, sir,
Wow.
piece of shit, you're fired. You know, I don't know exactly.
Ruthless.
But it was brutal. It was brutal. And so they brought me in then, saying, you know what? Well, I mean, even
You're probably like,
Gulp.
well, I knew what we were getting into, and they said, you know, we're looking to do something totally different, and we're open to whatever your thoughts are. And I said, well, here's my thoughts on how you do church, and it's very much not like anything you've probably seen before. And
no pants Sundays.
what's that?
No pants Sundays.
Yeah, right. And so there we talked over a few months about what that might look like, and then we did that. And so the first year was just triage from the things that they had felt before, and then it was, let's build deep organic community, and let's also build the type of deep organic community that actually cares to make a difference in the world around us. So we would start doing service projects, things like that. But the rule was during our service projects that we were not allowed to proselytize. If somebody asked what our beliefs were, invite them to another event or to reach out later. But there was to be no speak of theology during service projects. We were simply there to partner with other people in the community and truly make a beneficial difference. And so these were the kinds of things then that we did during years 2 and 3. And then it was into year 4 where we started growing more, grew to about, I think it was around 100, 150, somewhere in there. And then that's where my faith started falling apart, and I promptly saw myself the fuck out. So
it's funny you say that, because like one of my major politics questions, like we used to talk to candidates on one of my shows, and I would also ask them, I'm like, hey, are you cool with helping us tax the church? I want to tax her. And then most of the time people say, yeah, fuck yeah, like yeah, they should pay. They're not doing nothing. Your congregation sounds like one of the few exceptions where like the Dark Lord Mikey rides around on a steel chariot, an iron chariot, a carbon fiber chariot that I fly around in, so that all gods fear me. And and then like I would always be like, well, if they took care of the fucking community, then I wouldn't want to like wield the tax hammer at you. But you have there's a couple of super churches here. I'm in Chicagoland. There's a couple. I'm like, this place doesn't need any services because everyone drives a Tesla SUV and their home is worth $2.3 million. So this mega church needs to be fucking taxed. They are cleaning up in here. If motherfuckers are tithing in here, oh hell no. Hell no. Tax this now.
Yeah.
Immediately. There is billions of dollars sitting in this building.
Right. They're willingly paying their 10% to the church, meanwhile doing everything they can to fight down and get down what tax they owe down to zero as possible, right? Yep. And so stripping all those funds that could be put to good, non-religious, actually not biased, genuinely, objectively. But I mean, sometimes if we're not careful, we make it sound like there's no pork and bullshit in government. I mean, government, right. But we need reform. But how much easier to reform that than to try and do it through the church? Are you fucking kidding me? So
yeah, we'll just send all the homeless people we find to the church. Everybody who's having any kind of distress, we drop them off at the church, and then they just deal with it. Oh, what are you bleeding in the middle of the night? Church.
Preach, Mikey. Preach.
Like this is what we do. Hey, I'm really hungry. And you just knock on the door and they say, oh, hi. Oh, you're hungry. Here's the food that you wanted. It just doesn't happen.
Speaking of knocking on doors, I think there's a door. Somebody just said doorknob Lenny. What? Wait, is that a South Park reference? I've never seen South Park.
We got our regular fixture here, doorknob head.
Yeah.
So
doorknob head, doorknob Lenny. Okay. Tons of mice. Wow.
That's a mash quote.
The churches are not giving out Soylent Green. I don't think that would be fun.
Yeah, they're going at each
Oh
other in there.
no!
Also, churches should be paying taxes, and anything that they do for charity work, they can write off anyways. So,
Right.
just like everybody else,
just like anybody else,
because
how much of it goes to overhead, right? I mean, the bulk of it goes to overhead, to paying the ministers, etc. But that's where, I mean, now on this side of faith, there are communities, right? Atheist communities, humanist societies, things like that, right? And so we have some here in the Twin Cities and things like that. And so then you have the same, I mean, you can make an argument. This can be a little bit contentious. Not everyone would see it this way, but I don't see religion as inherently theistic. And so
it's a social thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a number of trends. I wouldn't say it's purely any social org is religious in nature, but it's not just a measure of theism. So like we have a great non-theistic humanist community that is a 501c3, is considered a religious org here in the Twin Cities, but is 100% non-theistic. And they're very much advocating for, yes, tax churches. Yeah. And if you tax the churches, you'll end up taxing us, and that's fine. But
we'll survive it.
Right. Exactly. We'll survive. If you're going to give tax-free status to all these other orgs, well, I guess we'll take it. We're not going to turn it down, but no, it'd be much better off if we all paid. Absolutely.
Here's HR's thing one more time. You want the church to take care of. Oh my God! You want the church to take care for the poor. Oh, it was her, not me.
Care for the poor.
And welcome migrants. They'd have to read a book about that in some book.
I mean,
if only that was written somewhere.
Where they would find such a book that talks about helping the foreign-born and the impoverished. I don't know where they would find such a book like that. I feel like I used to have several editions of one. Actually, I think downstairs I might still have several copies, but I can't quite place my finger on what the title was.
Gulliver's Travels?
Maybe. That it was. That could be it.
101 Damnations? Oh, wait. Sorry.
Yes. That must be it. Yes.
Sorry, I think that was supposed to be Dalmatians, but I don't know.
Moby circumcision.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. The dog one. I thought you were talking about the one where the apparent good guy damned everyone to hell and blamed it on the apparent bad guy who actually was never caught telling a single lie in the entire fucking book. Oh, wait. Yes.
Sometimes it just
I know.
You just labeled the bad guy. Nothing you can do about it.
It's not public at all. Yeah.
So your pillars are starting to fall. The church is up to like 150, and now you're starting to have a crisis.
Yeah. So it was right around that time where it all started, and we can go in a few different directions here, but no, it was around that time. So right now we're the end of 2010, where I'm having to do everything I can within my power to hold my faith together. It is just falling apart. It begins by questioning the legitimacy of the Bible, of the Christian Bible. And that's really what it was for me. Like I know for a lot of folks, we're all asked all the time, what was the one thing, right, that tore your faith? What was the one thing that led you being?
Usually it's not one. It's
there's on occasion, rarely there is, right? So it's this accumulation of things. That said, for me, it also wasn't that the church wronged me in any way. I was very happy in my faith, very content. The handful of church communities that I had been involved in, both as a kid as well as an adult, were, theology notwithstanding, were fairly healthy communities where they genuinely cared for one another. So I'm I have the benefit of being able to say, I don't really carry any traumas. I don't feel like I was ever really traumatized. My faith maybe traumatized me to an extent, but not the people in any way. So for me, it was purely theology. It was purely cognitive and emotive. But the emotive was tied to the cognitive. So it was really all there in theology, trying to make sense of what I see in this thing we refer to as the scriptures versus what I see in the world around me. And the more deeply I studied the Bible, the less I saw it even potentially, possibly tying in with the world around me. As I mentioned before, I was very comfortable in, so the way I read the Bible was about, as I said, as leftward as you can possibly go, right? So I had no problem kind of what I would look at as spinning the Bible. I had no problem with that.
Put a little English on it.
Well, and the reason why I didn't have a problem is because I was also one of these pray without ceasing guys. So all day, every day. Like I took my faith very seriously. Every morning I got up, I took a knee and I said, God, what would you like me to sacrifice to you today? I want you to be the Lord of my life. All day, every day, I worked, I tried, I labored to try and minimize my ambition and elevate everyone else around me, my wife, my kids, the faith community that God had entrusted to me. I really worked to live out and be a sacrifice as Jesus modeled for me. And so I was praying.
That's the house that I grew up in. It was like with my stepdad, like that's what it was every morning, every day. We took our religion seriously. Yes. So, and if you guys saw my Deconversion, that when you literally take it seriously and you don't skip and you don't do days off and you don't skip, you pray over every meal, all the time. You do everything you're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
It's intense, but yes, go on, Mr. Sir.
No, you're good. You're good. I mean, that's very much what it was, right? And so when you're praying all day, every day, God, help me with this. God, what would you like me to do here? God, what would you like me to do there? And God, I'm thinking I want to do this. Please let me know if I shouldn't. So there's the one side of confirm it, but also, okay, this is my plan. I give you full power to lead me in a different direction if this isn't what you would like me to do, whatever day-to-day decision it might be. But also in my understanding of God's word, God, I believe that this is what you're saying in your word. Spinning it as leftward as possible.
Yep.
It seems based on everything I'm taking in the world around me and in what I'm reading, it seems like this is the most logical way to interpret this. God, does that sound right? Does that feel right? The Spirit of God lives within me. And so Spirit of God within me, stop me if this isn't the correct way. Okay, nothing has stopped me. I'm not feeling any impulse that it couldn't be that. Okay, so now, Lord, I'm going to go out and I'm going to teach this. If this doesn't sit right with you, if this does not bear truth, then God, stop me or help me find a better way to understand it, because I believe He is fully in charge of my understanding. And so I'm seeing and reading things as liberally, as leftward, as progressively as possible, and as theologically leftward as possible as well. And that was good enough for a while. But then eventually, and so at this point, I believe the Bible is the inspired, inerrant word of God, and that it has room for evolution. I did not believe in a literal creation event. We were not teaching such a thing. We were teaching that it was all allegory and myth. And we had a way to tie it into ancient Near Eastern justifications for that literary. But is Mikey okay? Did I bore Mikey? Mikey, I'm sorry.
No.
He's
got little ones, so it's probably something to do with that, right?
That's fine. I also don't want to.
On occasion, he does that. He just pops out because something came up and he had to run out or do something, right? So
that's fine.
It's all good. I was kind of wondering, like when you were asking these questions, like when you're on your knee and you're talking to God and you're saying, "What do you want me to do today for you?" Did you actually ever, or at least thought you heard Him speak to you?
Not audibly, so much, but inwardly. I wasn't the flavor of Christianity that believed that we would call them signs and wonders, so like I was a dispensationalist. I was not a classic dispensationalist, but I was something that would be called a progressive dispensationalist. And so We believe that the whole like actual miracles, signs and wonders, actual literally prophesying the future, speaking in tongues, all of those more Pentecostal things, we believed that those concluded during the timeline of the book of Hebrews. There's certain verses in there that seem to, at least how we interpreted them, seem to indicate that that was now fading off. And we were now in the age of the Hebrews, if you will. And so that wasn't for us. So I didn't expect to hear God talk to me. I never did hear God talk to me. And I was okay with that. So, Mikey, everything cool?
Yeah, she's just trouble.
See, I told you. I figured out it's probably the wee one.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I've got my 19-year-old next door with her friend. And so they said, well, I told them, make sure you're, don't be loud running through the house saying, fuck this cunt or anything like that. It's a professional engagement. And they said, no paywall in the house. We're just going to do our normal thing and you can text us if we're being loud. I said, okay. So,
fair enough. Mine just wants to like fall off of things and grab things. She's
testing gravity.
Yeah, she's a year and a half. So she's not, her decision making leaves much to be desired.
What's that musical where it's like defying gravity? What is that? Is that Wicked?
Yes.
Is it Wicked?
I liked Wicked.
Wicked was good. The new movie.
I don't know who that is.
Right? It was
The Wizard of Oz.
A sequel or prequel?
Prequel.
Oh, okay.
It's
Wizard of Oz.
Linda and what's her face? The Green Witch.
I saw it.
They're in like which high school, college?
Wait, where are you in Chicagoland? Because I spent 20 years in Chicago. Both of
I'm Southwest.
You're Southwest.
Yeah.
In the suburbs or in the city?
Suburbs. I can't afford to be in the city. Rent's like $3,000 a month. I'm not even joking.
Making any presumptions? I don't know. So yeah, okay.
Sounds like here for crying out loud.
Dude,
well, mind you, that's Canadian, so that's like $5 US. So
a 2-drawer cabinet in the city is $5,000 a month.
Oh,
no thanks.
A drawer with one divider in the middle is $5,000 a month.
Yeah. Well, no, I actually saw what was it? I'm gonna see if I can find it here real quick. I saw something the other day where it had it ranked most expensive cities to rent in. And I think it had the Chicago suburbs as number 1, if I remember.
They are dicking us so bad right now. Like I just found a place that's literally like a regular house to rent, $8,000 a month. I'm like, they're doing it on purpose to jack up the rates so that the average goes up. Like
seriously,
it's a scam.
Tons wants to know how much money you charge the spider for rent.
Go to commercial.
Oh.
She is in the other room watching tons. You're gonna get me in trouble. Come.
Wow.
I'm gonna hear the door kick open. It's not what it looks like.
Hi, Ollie. If you think gravity is real, then you probably think the Earth is round.
Shut up, Ollie.
I don't know how that works,
Well, the Bible says that the Earth is flat.
That's right. It's got a firmament over it.
I was like, yo, I know y'all do. I know the religious people are cringing when the flat earthers started taking over YouTube and like, aha! Exodus 437, verse 3. And they're like,
I love it. Exodus 437.
In the 2000th book of Joshua, it says that.
Shit.
I could have been on one big book.
Oh. The Bible says insects walk on all fours. Oh, there you go.
Insects walk on all, on all fours. Yeah.
Dinobotful.
Dinobotful. Yeah. Another regular. Pretty much anyone you see with a blue, which is almost everybody, is regular.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
Turn everyone into moderators.
Cheers, family. You're right. Cheers to community. Absolutely.
That's kind of my next sort of thing. Like once you found yourself free of your previous beliefs, like, and I'm sure that didn't happen overnight. I'm sure it took a little while for that to happen.
Yeah.
what made you sort of decide to sort of speaking against your faith from the past? Like, what made you decide to do something like B.A.H.A.Con and become an activist in that respect?
Yeah, well, I mean, so I left. So I guess just to back it up a few steps prior to that decision, I suppose you like you say, what made me decide to do that? So I left. I was still desperately trying to maintain my belief when I left the ministry. So I left the ministry in 2012. I was doing everything I could to hold on to it, begging and pleading the God of wonders to please restore and re-strengthen my faith, because it was such a comfortable faith. And where I was within it, right? I mean, I'm a pastor, I'm a lead pastor, right? It's like I'm literally saving the world. Like I'm God's chosen hero, right? And as cool and chill as I want to be, I mean, that's pretty fucking cool, right? And so it feels cool to see yourself that way.
Probably gives you a sense of power too, I guess.
Well, yeah. And I mean, as much as you might be working to do that well and carry that responsibility well, right? And to do everything the way it should be done. And I think I did a fairly well job doing that all the way through, right?
Would you say that you get kind of like, for people who are outside of like that kind of lifestyle, it might seem overwhelming and exhausting. Would you say that like after some confirmation bias, you kind of start to get like a runner's high, and like even though you're doing all of this super exhausting things, you tell yourself you feel better and better about all of the extra steps you take to do normal day-to-day tasks?
Well, I mean, so I've always been a bit of a workaholic, but that said, my work for the first half of my life the middle half, let's see, I'm 45. The first decade, there wasn't any work, but the middle 20 years of my life, because I started my first Christian ministry when I was 16 years old. And so my entire high school experience was doing ministry. I was on staff with Billy Graham. I was preaching at 17, right? So it's like talking about the, like when we jumped into like my second church and what they were calling me to do and all of that, like that was like halfway through or 3/4 of the way through my religious work experience. But no, I mean, there is, so I mean, when you're a bit of a workaholic, there is a high in that, right? It's
sure.
I've always said and continue to say, I love to work when it's work that I love. I love to work when it's work that I love. I work all day, every day for the most part. I'm getting a little.
Well, it's true what they say. The secret to success is enjoying it.
Right. Exactly.
What if it's something bad like murder? We don't want to encourage people. Like
well, then you're a psycho and you should be put out.
I haven't worked a day in my life. I've just been kicking puppies down the stairs every day, and I just wake up so happy. Just like
wow. You know, Neil, I'd be concerned if I were you about your co-host. And
sending out applications for a new one.
If I kick them out of nowhere, kicking puppies downstairs, I don't know.
If I tried to kick that puppy down the stairs, first of all, I wouldn't be able to pick him up because he's too squirmy. And also, my foot would break because he's just a brick that loves me.
He's just a fuzzy little brick.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
Dense little love bomb. That's what
he wouldn't leave me alone when I was trying to sleep.
He loves everyone so much. It's so annoying.
Hi, Orla.
I made him a positive, happy dog, and it's the worst thing that's ever happened to me. He won't leave me alone.
Oh, come on. Zero's awesome.
I love it.
Are you awesome, Zero?
But yeah, so I left the church really part of my thought. There were two thoughts in leaving the church then finally, and in leaving ministry. One was
two thoughts at once. I can barely maintain one.
Unreal.
Professional, Neil.
But so like as I'm fighting for my faith. So I spent at this point 1.5 years trying to fight for my faith and still not finding it, begging, pleading God to restore my faith, still not finding it. And so I came to the conclusion that either A, God is real, the Bible is true, but I have no business representing it because I can't fucking find it, right? Like I've lost faith. And so either it's all real and I just have no business being a pastor or a minister because I've lost my faith and can't find it even though it's real. Or two, I'm fucking right. My worst fears are true, that it is all bullshit and that it has no business. It's not fit for this world. So either it's true and I'm not fit for Christianity, or it's not true and it's not fit for the world. Either way, I have no business being a minister anymore. And so there was that feeling of I'm not fit for ministry anymore, together with the idea that maybe the reason why I haven't been able to restore my faith in God is because I've been spending all this time laboring over and fussing over the souls of everybody else. Maybe if I stop fussing over everybody else's souls, I'll be able to tend more fully to my own. So I left the ministry with a last-ditch effort, trying to reclaim my faith or hoping that I would find God again. But within just a matter of months, I finally came to grips with the fact that no, I had indeed become an atheist, and that it is all bullshit. And so then shortly after that, within a matter of months, I said I was already blogging regularly. I was already working on a book. I had all these things I was doing within Christian world, within church world. And so I wanted to continue it just differently. I saw myself as, okay, I'm still a pastor at heart. It just looks differently now that there's no God. And so how do I do this differently? So in less than a year, it was like maybe 6 months after I left the faith and left the ministry, 6 months after leaving the ministry, 3 months after leaving the faith, somewhere in there, I started blogging about it, Bekius.com. And just,
I have a link to that in the description box, by the way, people.
And that's a very old this is an old version of it. Due to my current career, I'm not able to do a lot online anymore, just due to federal regulation, things like that. So I don't have a very active presence on website, things like that. But back then I was blogging regularly, once, twice a week, and I just blogged about my deconversion experience and all those things. And so that eventually led to, one thing I didn't say is that within my progressive view of evangelicalism, I saw myself as a Christian humanist, and we taught what I called Christian humanism, which was a theistic humanism, but nonetheless super progressive. And but then when I left the church and everything, I was like, I have no idea how to think anymore. Everything I thought was true isn't. How do I rebuild my entire view of life and ethics and all of that? And so I just kind of like said, okay, let's clear the whole drawing board and start from scratch. So I spent 6 months or so just kind of making no assumptions, rebuild. I threw humanism out the window. I threw progressive values out the window. I threw everything out the window and said, let's just start from the beginning. But then eventually I found my way back to humanism, but what some would consider more the real humanism, which was the non-theistic kind. And just from the beginning, my viewpoint was I want to help others. I want to continue being the pastor I've always been. I just have new information. When I was a Christian pastor, I was always adjusting how I saw the world. I was always a scientifically driven person, human. I just, based on the current information I had at the time, I thought that included a God. But I've always been driven by data. My fundamentalist grandfather, who raised me, Jesus first, Lord first, he always said, truth leads the way. He always said that if you're following the truth, it will always put the rest of the church against you. So from the beginning, I was taught, it doesn't matter what other Christians think. It doesn't matter what the church thinks. They're probably wrong. You got to go with truth. Now, he always thought that truth and the Bible were one and one. But when it became clear to me that they weren't, well, then what do? I follow the truth. And so,
just like he taught you, just the truth is leading you elsewhere now.
Taught me, exactly. And so, and there was always this desire from the time I was a teenager to bring other people with me. And so now it's been 12 years since I left the church. It's looked different in different ways. And sometimes my day job work has limited what I'm able to do with other people, publicly. But that said, I'm in a place now where I'm allowed to write books again. For a while, I wasn't for a few years. Now I'm working on a third book. I'm able to speak a little more. I'm able to do these other kinds of things, and I'm able to do podcasts again. For a few years, I wasn't able to do any sort of shows or anything like that. I'm enjoying now doing this stuff again, so it's fun. But
you and I were talking about starting something too.
Yeah, exactly. And I've been active for the last couple of years, specifically in humanism, in saying, how do we live out our ethics? How do we identify our ethics post-faith? What does a post-faith ethic look like? And so I spend a good amount of time advocating for what I call an embodied humanism instead of a philosophical humanism.
Right.
So all kinds of things we could talk about, but that's kind of what I'm interested in. And as you and I have talked, Neil, very interested in this idea of community and what does community after church look like and after faith. So
right.
Yeah.
And I think I'm over the past, I don't know, I want to say maybe 6 years or so, 5 years or so, it just seems like what I used to think of as the atheist community is kind of sort of split into its little groups, I guess. And that happens to every sort of community, I suppose. They end up breaking up into their little cliques, I guess we'll call them, or little tribes or whatever. And no, you're still muted, Mikey, whatever it is you're doing.
Enclaves, cabals.
Enclaves, cabals, yes, sure, that works.
Because the TikTokers are definitely different than the YouTubers, who are definitely different than the Twitter people, who are definitely different than the interview people and the debate bros. Like everybody has their little clique that they go into.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's true.
Because let's face it, really the only thing that atheists all have in common is their non-belief in deities.
Right.
Love of sin.
Love of sin. That's right. You're angry at God.
It is interesting.
Anger at God. Number one.
It is interesting though. You talk about love of sin, right? So I'm assuming we're using the word sin playfully, right? We don't.
And Angie
what
knows
is sin anymore, but I still like talking about sin because it's fun now. But you
now it is
to see how for a lot of us, once we deconstruct God and faith, right now we're after faith. Oftentimes the deconstruction leads to more and more things. Deconstructing lifestyle, deconstructing politics, deconstructing relationships, deconstructing all these things, right? Deconstructing sin. It's interesting to see though how some folks very much so still kind of stick to the straight and narrow, and they're like, oh, but I wouldn't want to use curse words because it just sounds so impolite, and like they still look like really good Christians. I don't think I do.
Maybe not. I always thought of the whole deconstruction program, or the whole idea of deconstruction. I thought of it as like a tapestry, and you're pulling threads out of that tapestry, and you're sewing in new ones to this new way of thinking that you have, because you've dropped your faith, you've left all that behind. Something else has to fill that. So of course the humanism comes in, even if you thought at the time you had an element of humanism within your faith, which is fun and probably good, but you can let it go and sew in a new string of humanism that's not based in biblical or theocratic type ideas, right? You can just be a humanist for what it is, like caring about others, trying to stand beside and raise up marginalized groups, whatever it is, basic rights for everybody, civil rights for everybody. So, and that's what I think a humanist is somebody that stands up for that sort of thing.
And I feel like you can get that same runner's high being a humanist that you would get from overcomplicating your life being a Christian, like doing good things for other people when they have no way of paying you back. Makes you feel good because you're a freaking social ape, you fool. You like to do nice stuff for each other. You like it. It feels good to be nice. Yeah. It's fun.
I don't know about the social ape, because apes throw poo. So I don't know.
Well, at least we're not. Hey, we're 98% the same as chimps. We're lucky it's not 99. Like
so we'd all be throwing shit at each other.
We'd be cannibalizing each other.
Are we not supposed to be throwing poo? I thought that was
this was America.
The final step of atheism was throwing poo at your neighbor.
Well,
I'm an American atheist. I have a right to throw whatever I want to throw.
Depends on the neighbor, I guess. But
Are you kink
Most of mine
shaming?
are pretty cool. So
Neil's kink shaming.
Mike,
What if
no.
we like to throw
Poops your
pool in
thing.
this house? How dare you?
It proves your thing. Get shitty. I don't care. Go for it.
Get shit faced.
Get shit faced. Yeah, you gotta wonder how that first came in, right?
Right.
No,
Drunk,
no,
fell in a
don't
pile of
want,
shit.
don't
Look,
wonder.
I'm shit faced.
Don't wonder.
Mm.
It's probably grosser and truer. And
Angie
right
says we
there
only
on
do
the
that when they put us in cages, mostly. Doorknob head will poo for love. For crying out loud. So what's next?
It's holding the sign. Will poo for love.
Oh.
That's so funny.
Anywho.
Anywho.
These jokes are crappy, you guys. Come on, we gotta start.
Ah, there it is. Let's get our shit together.
Get your shit together, Mikey.
Look.
Throw it at somebody else. Okay.
This is all circling the bowl, guys. We gotta figure this out. All right. So
Neil, you're the number
Drew-
one. I'm number two. So go ahead.
what's next for you? Like what are your plans for the future? Like where are you gonna take this?
Yes. So
I know you got another book coming. And by the way, folks, I have a link to his last book that he did, and which should also lead you to his first book. So there you go.
And also, on the end of the question, how can our community help your community?
yeah, no, that's great. So I'm not. I readily admit I'm not nearly as out there and active as a lot of other folks. I'm trying to get more active on Instagram and things like that. So social media is already plural. The mediums.
Hello.
Yeah, all the links and all those things.
They're all down there.
I have some other shows coming up doing some ACA stuff and a show called Secular Spin, but we're not here to talk about those other shows. We're here to talk about this show, the best goddamn show on the internet. Okay.
Oh, please, let's not get carried away.
Drew, they can hear you talking right now. Careful. You raise the bar around here. We'll have to start
I like the
ironing our
show, and
shirts.
I think it has value and purpose.
Yeah,
it does.
But really, I'm just a small potato in the big fish pond, man. I'm a little
Large
fish in the big
potato.
pond because we've only got like 3,600 subscribers. So
Well,
you know,
it's still
and
you're doing great work. You guys are doing
good
great
friends of mine have
Yeah.
lots more than that,
Hundreds of
Apologia and
thousands.
Rhino, and yeah.
One thing I've started doing is looking towards what does it look like to build local community. So I do stuff with our local humanist community. I speak on occasion at large conferences and stuff like B.A.H.A.Con and others. American Atheist is coming here to the Twin Cities this year in April, Easter Sunday, as always. My focus, and I teach and do talks and stuff usually a few times a year at the local humanist community, which is the first community ever within atheism to use the term humanist. They actually pulled the term over from the educational arena and pulled it to apply it to secular things. But that group is the humanist community I've been referencing the entire time is First Unitarians. Yes, it's also a UU congregation. First Unitarian Society of Minneapolis. So I just recently finished a stint on the board there. I still speak and teach sometimes there on humanism. It is a 100% non-theistic humanist community. So if you're ever in town, look them up, look me up. But also other types of community for those that don't want to like sit in atheist church on Sunday morning, which is exactly what it is. It's atheist church on a Sunday morning, but not everybody's looking for atheist church on a Sunday morning. So something I've been playing with recently, which Neil, you may remember, I announced this at B.A.H.A.Con. I was just beginning. We're continuing it now. Is doing post-faith house parties at my home. So I've been hosting these. So if you're passing through, and I'm thinking about doing one, I'm actually debating, do I throw a post-faith house party the weekend of American Atheist, because lots of cool people would be here. Do y'all want to come hang out at my house? Maybe let me know. Should we do that? Otherwise, American Atheist has so many things themselves. Do you really want to drive 10 minutes off campus to go to a party at my house?
Ooh, 10 minutes. Oh my goodness. Come on. Yeah, of course.
I
drove this guy 2 hours to Fort Wayne. We'll take a
But yeah, so if you're passing through the Twin Cities, say hello, come to a house party, join our house party meetup group if you ever think you might be passing through, because about once between every month or two would be the best way to construct the sentence. Every month or two, I'm throwing a post-faith house party. And so far, it's been cool. It's been a good time. So come to that stuff. Connect with me online. My website, drewbekius.com, isn't kept up very well. I do apologize.
Yeah, it's still got some interesting stuff on it because I was perusing it earlier. So go check it out. It's linked below.
It's well built.
So that's me. Cheers, fuckers.
Well, Drew.
Yeah.
Man, I have yet to make it to an American Atheist thing. And if there's one in Minneapolis, man, I don't have it in the budget right now. It's
start walking, Neil.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I've been saying,
drive over. It'd only be 10 hours.
Neil and others, I have opened up my home. I only have one guest room, only one guest bed.
Dibs.
I have a couple couches and a lot of floor space. Okay. Seriously, I've been telling people, if you're able to get here and you don't want to hotel it up, like feel free to stay with me. Like, well, not everybody gets a bed, or even a couch, depending on.
I'll take a couch.
But come on over. Like, stay with me. So if that makes it more doable for people to come here and not have to worry about a hotel, stay with me. I'm like 10 minutes, probably 15 minutes from where the conference will be.
Well, listen to me, people. I already called dibs on the room, so fuck. Now who's the sack of shit? Me.
I'm looking up how long it would be for you to drive, Neil.
Love it. Neil's got
How long would it take me to drive from Vancouver or in the Lower Mainland to Minneapolis?
I looked it up the other day. I think it's like 24, maybe 22 hours. So
I drove straight.
Driving. Yeah, like 22.
It's only 26 hours. We lost Mikey.
Oh no, Mikey, where'd you go?
He'll be back. He probably hit the wrong button. He's done this before. See, you got to. Oh, here he comes.
Neil,
what the hell?
You abandoned us.
Neil threw me out,
man.
You're looking up the directions. You could fly in 3 hours and 20 minutes, or you could just drive on I-90 for 2,900 kilometers in 27 hours.
27 hours.
There's 5 construction things on here.
I drove from here to, was it Long Beach, California, and that took 21 hours. So that's not that much of a difference.
No.
I mean, you'd be driving through literally nothing.
If you drove with somebody, you could partner up and it'd take maybe an extra hour or two for brakes to stop. Otherwise, though, you can just drive yourself, turn it into 30, take a few breaks along the way, you'll be good to go.
Or Ollie can fly from Prince Edward Island out floating somewhere in the Atlantic. He can fly to BC, and then you guys can drive to Minneapolis.
Oh, so it's like payback.
Burn the car, and then just fly back to your respective.
I'm not burning the car. I just bought the thing.
Why are you trying to burn his car, Mikey? What the fuck, bro?
Why would you take your own car and put all those miles on it? Take a rental. That's the whole point.
I guess.
Then you set it off a bridge.
Money. I have a confession. I've never rented a car in my life.
No,
once.
I have.
No, I've never rented
a couple of times.
I've never rented a car.
It's just a tool at that point. It feels like a go-kart.
Yeah.
It doesn't have a soul like my car.
My kids have rented cars. I've never rented a car. I don't know.
Kids like to do stuff. Parents don't.
Yeah.
Oh, I said I'm going to sleep in the van with Purple.
April, the weather is mild. Oh, I thought April was the name of a person. April, the weather is mild enough. Give me a place to park and sleep in my van. Yeah. Well, April in Minnesota sometimes includes snow. So, hey, you know.
Neil's used to it.
Well, I think, who is it that said that? Purple.
Purple rhymes with orange.
I think Purple was speaking more for themselves maybe in the drive rather than Neil. But
yeah, I believe they were,
yeah.
It's quite the confession, apparently.
Yeah.
You've never rented a car.
Many things I've never done. Many things.
I know lots of people.
Many things yet to do in this thing we call life.
I mean, I know my nephew's never rented a car. Mind you, he's not old enough to drive, but that's besides the point. Anyways, we've done the hour.
I was about to say it's time for the final question.
Oh, what? Oh, shit. What's the final question?
It is time.
Shit.
If you could go back and whisper in the ear of believer you, what words of encouragement would you impart to them? What would they need to hear?
That is good. I think I'd say
it's a tough one to think about.
Yeah, it is, because I don't regret anything from my
Live from New York. It's
years.
Saturday night.
No, I mean,
Maybe
I think I'd say keep it up, man. Just keep your eyes open, keep your ears open. You're just, you're in for a fuck show of a ride, because there were years of, it was not easy, but it'll bring you to a good place. So just don't lose hope and strap in, motherfucker. So
the unfucking takes more than a day. So
how do we make this real?
It's the final question.
Oh, there we go.
I can hear it echoing on my wife's laptop in the other room. So I just heard us.
Oh, that's great. That's fantastic.
So stick it out. Stick it out, he says. Neil, that is his final answer to the final question. He says, stick it out.
What I would have said too was just continue on the path that you're on right now, and things will improve for you.
Yeah.
Right, so.
You're going the right way.
My mind, Mikey, when you just said you're going the right way, you know how like your mind, you'll hear somebody saying something and your mind will fill in the gap before they get there. I totally thought you were saying you're going to hell. And then you said the right way. And I'm like, oh, yes, of course. That makes so much more sense.
The right way to hell, which is how my brain works.
Too.
It puts both of them together.
We're going too, so we'll all be there together. And
one of the most beautiful.
Do we have blueprints for air conditioning?
Do we have 30 seconds for another story? Along this line?
Yeah, sure.
So, like, I thought one of the coolest things. So, like, because my kids,
you're already going to hell.
12 years ago, my kids were like 8 and 10, I think, and so like they were still old enough where like they received the teaching. My 8-year-old at the time, she would like talk about she wanted to be a pastor. She would like fake preach with a choir. And like pretend she's preaching, because we were
a music stand.
and so, but no, at this point, maybe it was about 3-4 years ago or so, or something like that. She was like talking about how like, man, I wish hell was real. And she's an atheist. She's like, I wish hell was real. Like, what do you mean you wish hell was real? She's like, it'd be fucking awesome. I'm like, what do you mean it'd be fucking awesome? Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, well, I mean, they talk about how like all the cool people will be in hell. It's like a party. For her mind, she had totally lost complete disconnect with the fact that hell was a place of torture.
Yeah.
She had lost all of that. The only thing she remembered is that sinners and heathens go to hell. All the cool people will be there. Totally forgot that it had anything to do with punishment or torture. And was like, yeah, I wish we could have like a fucking eternal party called hell. And I love that. I love the fact that both of my kids, they have no memory, almost no memory. And they were good church kids. They have almost no memory of life in church. And I fucking love it.
That's great.
That bullshit.
Now, I just want to say something real quick here.
Mm-hmm.
If hell, what part of you goes to hell?
Ooh,
the penis.
Your soul, right? It's your soul that ends up there, because that's what the devil always says. We're fighting for your soul, him and God, right?
Yeah. Are you asking now me or then?
I'm asking like then you, like, well, anyone in general, like what part of you ends up in hell would be your soul, right? I have news for you. Torture and pain can't exist because you have no nerve endings.
Ooh.
Can you have pain without a brain?
Nope.
Pain is a conception that we make internally.
Mm-hmm.
Pain is a
hallucination.
mechanism.
Yeah, it's a hallucination based on outside feedback.
That's right. That's right. Well, everything is really.
Yeah.
As a pastor, I saw us as one whole human. I did not break us out into parts. So I would have no problem with what you just said and be like, yeah, absolutely. I also, though, kind of questioned what hell would actually be and look like. So
where is it?
Well, it's supposed to be on the
Like,
ground,
point
isn't
to it. Like, where do we go? Where do we go to get there? Like, where
I've
is
heard
it?
so many different ways of it being explained. So
I thought it was the core of the earth, and that made sense to me,
That's-
like geologically. But they
We
say,
should
hell
just-
no, it's not that. That would be stupid.
Right now. Let's just start recording for like a whole second episode. Like,
Oh yeah, what are we doing? Let's get out of here. We'll talk about it at the after show. We'll talk about it
let's
at the after
travel
show.
this. Like, let's do it. Let's do it.
Where
yeah, that's what I was going to mention.
GPSing to hell.
Drew, you're good for the after party? Hang out for a little bit.
I'll be there. I'll be there. I don't know. Are you going to be there?
I'll be there.
Of course. Put the join link in the private chat for him, Mr. Mikey, please.
Gotcha. Get you,
We'll have that over in the private chat there. You can just click on that. Clink. What is this, Hogan Heroes? Just click on it, and you can hang out until one of us lets you in. Because I'm going to go for a quick smoke break, and then we'll get things going. If any of you would like to be a part of the after party, tell this guy. All right, let him know. Or if you don't, or if you're not connected with Mikey, I suppose you could bug me either on Twitter or Facebook, and I'll send you.
You better fucking come.
There.
If you don't come to
it.
the after party, you're dead to me. It's like I don't even know.
You're a horrible heathen sinner if you don't.
Yeah, but I'm that
come
anyway,
today.
so.
Touche,
Nothing lost,
salesman.
nothing gained. But yeah, so you guys are welcome to come and jump in with Drew and Mikey and myself. And thank you to everyone over in the chats on YouTube and Twitch for hanging out with us.
Unkicked. Unkicked. He's unkicked.
He's unkicked. He sure doesn't look like. He looks like you're about to give him the boot.
No, that's because he tried to sneak in my closet, and I had the vacuum in there waiting on him, and he's terrified of the vacuum. He's, duh!
I just want to know what kind of drugs Mikey's on. That's all I want to know.
I'll share.
Yeah. Share.
All over all from the dispensary.
My favorite pastime is Naked Drugs Day. It's the best thing in the world.
It's legal in Canada, kids.
Hey!
Mine's in the garage. Thanks to all of our amazing patrons and members. The
By the way, Ollie
thanks, guys.
has been a member for 6 months now.
Good job, Ollie. You did it.
Wait, Ollie. Is this Neil? Is this the Ollie I would know?
Yep.
Ollie!
Ollie will be in the after party.
Ollie, you better fucking be at the after party.
Oh,
Yeah,
he's
Ollie.
Furniture there. He's always in them.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
He's gonna be like, I can't make it tonight, guys. I got a thing.
And yes, you will be able to smell him, even in the after
Oh,
party.
shit.
Through the stream.
I love that.
The weed just wafts through
I
the
can't
interwebs.
smoke anymore. My respiratory is fucked post-COVID, so I can't smoke anymore.
Oh, shit.
You bring a joy to life I don't find on my own, so thank you.
He's currently playing. I saw that he went online on Steam, so he's playing disc golf online right now. Anyway,
I gotta get back into that. He's been whooping my ass. I had to give up.
So I know there's lots of folks that are probably going to want to Spider-Wanna.
Yo, maybe that's why the spiders in my garage love me so much, is because they're all fucking baked.
Yeah.
He's like, hey,
Did you bring fucking cupcakes with you this time, you bastard?
It's the
I
guy.
need cookies. Anyway, so
That's dude.
until next time, guys, like I always say at the end of the interview part of the show, like the late, great Christopher Hitchens said, and let's throw off the Hitch Slap shirt again. Hitch Slap! All right. It's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Link to the after party below.
Come on over, fucker.